B, we in the building, baby. We've been out for a couple weeks, but we live right now.
We were on
Coach,
hiatus, man. It's good to be back, man.
it's good to be back. Been on the road, traveling. Been doing, taking care of some business. In here with my guy, my right hand man, Brandon Clay, and let's, let's do it. You know,
What you
that's
got for
it.
me tonight, Reed? Where we starting at, man? What we on, man?
Yeah, it's good, bro. It's good to be back in here, getting to it. So B, let's start here. Let's start first um with the WNBA, right? Obviously, um Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark wins the Rookie of the Year, and Asia Wilson wins MVP. MVP. And Asia had 1,000 points in one season. I mean, just a record-breaking season all around. Kind of give you a take on what's happening in the NBA this year, the WNBA, and with those guys, with those two girls, women rather, getting those awards.
Well, I think you can start honestly with, Asia obviously is a huge deal, right? To be able to win that is a big, big thing. But I mean, I want to make sure I speak to Nafisa Collier too, who had a great season. Obviously, Asia very deserving, unanimous winner, amazing. We love it. But I thought Nafisa Collier had a great year too. Kind of sandwiched in between them, right? If you're not careful, you don't speak to the year that she had. We always like to throw the 3-1-4 when we get around here, so we're gonna show her some love. And then Caitlin Clark, just you have the weight of the world on your shoulder from an expectation standpoint. You hear all these hot takes back from April and May about she's not going to be this and she's not going to be that. And then all the way even through July, August even. Oh, well, Cobra give the year, code this, code this, code that, code that, code that. And all Caitlin Clark did was just go hoop. I had a chance to go 2 Fridays ago. Big thanks to Jeremy Bloom and a couple other folks up there. We were just in the building up in Indianapolis. They treated us like royalty. I felt like I was you in your city, Reed, the way they showed me love. Indianapolis is officially my second home.
Oh,
Alabama's a close third. Alabama, if you're listening, I love you. Alabama, stand up. But Indiana and Indianapolis is my second home right now. And, man, it's just 18,000 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. They were playing Asia Wilson, right? So Caitlin Clark versus Wilson, and you're getting to watch WNBA royalty on the same floor. Xavier Johnson, my national skills director, Tony Lugardo, director of media for all of Brandon Clay basketball. And we were really outside. A lot of times you say you outside, kind of like how you be in LA, Reed, how you really outside. That's how we were in Indianapolis. And to see Clark and Wilson in front of 18,000, and the place was just electric. It felt the way when Steph Curry would come to Atlanta with the Warriors in 2016-17. LeBron will come with the Cavaliers, so even early in the stint with the Lakers. And the place is just buzzing. It felt like that. And I've been to a lot of WNBA games. I've never been to one with that type of atmosphere, especially a regular season game. It's just a great time for the league. They're taking full advantage. The new expansion coming to Portland. So they're jumping on top of it, but it just unbelievable atmosphere. And both of them are in a position, hopefully to stay healthy. Asia got another 7 or 8. Caitlin Clark, a decade plus. Not to mention Reese, who ended the year with the injury. Cam Brink. Collier. I mean, there's just a lot of really good pieces in the league right now, all 30 and under, who can help make a run over the next, 7 to 10 seasons. It's a great, great thing to watch.
Shout out to John Albert. John Albert in the comments on Instagram Live. Hey, listen, made it to the finals of the overtime elite women's tournament. John. Now listen, here's the crazy part. I gotta get on him about this. How my boy get a tech down there? B at the how do you get a tech at the overtime elite? I might even have to let him come on here and explain this.
Hold on. Listen, hear me, Reed. Hear me. If I was John Albert and I was coaching against the kid they call Kay Harper, I might have got a tech too. Anything to try to slow her down because she was cooking.
Wow.
They did a good job though. I was there, feet on the hardwood like always. My 3-stripe Adidas is on the floor there at overtime. And I'm going to touch on that actually on a show later this week when we introduce our 2026 rankings for 24/7 Sports. But I thought John did a great job. I thought the coaching in the league, especially the final weekend, was tremendous. Wiley Gatewell was the coach of Kate's team, Double Dynasty, ended up winning. And honestly, with some of the injuries, Sanaa Hall didn't play the last week. Sanaa Green was out with a lower leg injury for John Albert. He did a great job. I mean, to be in that game competitive, you're down arguably the number one kid in America in 26 and another top 30 kid, and to still be battling with the Paldos and Aaliyah Crump and Denia Prawl and Kate Harpering and Bukosa. That double dynasty roster was loaded. They might not have had the signature kid coming in, but obviously Harpering played her way into that mix. And then all those other kids are elite level, top 10, top 15 caliber kids in the country. That's a tough matchup. Not to mention Kamora Pruitt. I mean, they were good. He did a great job.
Hold on. Listen. Hold on. 1 second. 1 second. Bro, John Albert.
What you talking about, man?
How do you get a technical foul at an all-star event? It's totally ridiculous. It's unacceptable. Right? In that moment, on that stage, to get a technical, I don't understand it, man. Make it make sense.
So, hear me out. I promise you, I had said a whole lot the first 3 games to them. And the tech I got was not earned. I didn't say a word to him. All I said was, you got to be kidding me. That's it. I didn't curse. I didn't go off. I didn't do any of that. When he turned around, he saw my back, and then he turned around and gave me a tech. And I was like, are you serious? That was probably the worst tech I ever got in my career that I actually did not earn. Now, I didn't get a lot of stuff, but I didn't earn that one.
You was courtside, so tell me, did he deserve the tech or not?
I couldn't see. He was on the other end coaching. I mean, I didn't think any of the coaches were saying anything wild. Nobody was like cursing at people or wild, and like there was none of that. They did a really good job. I thought everybody was coaching their team. They were coaching hard. He obviously was trying to win a championship, and not only a championship, honestly, Carl, but a championship. The game was on TV. The game was nationally televised. Like if you put me in a nationally televised game, I'm gonna say something to the ref. Like,
but I'm gonna keep it real. That was probably the only thing that spurred them, though. because of the fact that we mic'd up, that was the only reason I didn't drop a couple F-bombs and all that, because I was like, did he just really give me a tech? And normally I would have said some more things so I could have really earned it. But I was like, you know what? It's 4 minutes to go in the game. We down 4. He just gave me a tech. Thank the Lord they didn't make the free throw. You know, because you only get one free throw because they treat you like NBA, but it was a horrible tech.
And your mother's watching the game on national.
So listen, I purposely tell my mom when she comes to watch our games at Vashon, do not sit behind my bench. Because I am going to say something that you're probably not going to approve of to my kids. So you don't need to sit behind my bench. It's just that simple.
Sit across the way up in the corner, man.
Let me ask both of y'all something because I got you both here. Talk to me. I'm going to start with you, Brandon, from an AAU talent evaluation perspective. Talk to me about the Overtime Elite women's event and what it's doing for girls basketball right now.
I thought it was fantastic. I'm not going to dive too deep into it because this is actually going to be the lead subject on my show later in the week. But it was organized. And I think so many times people have great ideas like this. Carl, you remember even, Jerry Gatewood, Kelvin Powell years ago, All-American camp in Charlotte. There's been all types of stuff over the past 20 years that it's been situated to be like this. Mike White top 10 camp. There's been all kinds of stuff that was supposed to become what I think Overtime has become, but they didn't have the resources and or the organization to be able to get it all done. And respect to them in year one, they came out swinging. I think it's the gold standard. That part I'll give away. That's kind of the lead in there, is that it's the gold standard. And then I'll get into more of why and kind of what happens and the players and all of that. But I thought from an overarching standpoint, it was as good of a league as I've seen in my 23 summer career. And I'm sure John can attest to that too. But that's where I'll start.
John, from a coaching standpoint, I mean, you built one of the top high school basketball programs in the country, state champion. You getting to coach in the event, what was that like for you and that experience?
Oh, it was definitely a different level of experience. I mean, if you look at it, truthfully, it was kind of like an NBA, WNBA type experience as far as being able to just focus and dial in on coaching your kids. I know when I needed clips and stuff for the other team, My third coach is able to chop up clips and send them directly to my phone, so I can kind of be prepared for the game as far as what it was going to look like. But I think, to be truthfully honest, the experience in itself, because of the other coaches, everybody's got them to play what basketball is supposed to look like at the next level, and it wasn't really a roll out the basketball all-star game type feel. It was really more like a regular high school basketball game with elite players.
John, from a standpoint of being in that type of atmosphere, how high was the talent level?
It's the best basketball players in the world, and when it comes to high school, I think they probably maybe miss on maybe a handful of kids as far as drawing some more top 25 kids in there. But if you look at my team alone, you got Sanaya Hall, who's now the number one player in the country in the 26 class. You got Kalena Smith, who's the number one player in the 27 class. You got Bella Fleming, who now just jumped up to number 12 in her class. You got Kelsey Andrews, who's number 19 in her class. You got Khalees Fish, who's going to UConn, who's number 28 in her class. So they got a lot of the big fish when it comes to trying to attract the big players. I think it'll be even better next year, and not just be so maybe top heavy with some teams. But when you look at it overall, I mean, if you look at the team who won it, Double Dynasty had a really, really good basketball team. Like they were well balanced when it came to what they needed in point guards, wings, and bigs. All the teams didn't have that, and then my team was pretty much the same way. So it's just elite level when it comes to what overtime did with that.
I'll add this, Carl, before we switch subjects. I thought Sasha Shea, Whitney Bell, just everybody involved. I know Zach and them, and there's a million people that played a hand in it all, but they were so open to the feedback from what everyone had to say, whether it was the coaches, the players, the families, the evaluators, people like myself that were at all the games for the most part. Hey, what do you see? And I think, John, you hit it on the head just in terms of continuing to be able to evaluate. They've got so much going on from the boys' side. So just getting a couple more sets of eyes in there who do this every single day, all year long, to continue to help that bottom. And just we call it turn the bottom over roster-wise. You continue to do that. They've done a great job, though. The stage is set for a lot of stuff to come. Just keep an eye out. They did a really good job.
So, John, you made a statement. You made a comment on our Instagram feed that kind of caught my attention. B and I and Smoke, we've been going at it all WNBA season between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese for the Rookie of the Year. Obviously, Angel Reese went down. Caitlin Clark won Rookie of the Year. Now, you said that Skip Bayless lost his mind because he said Caitlin Clark deserved to be in the discussion for the MVP, right?
Correct.
She don't even deserve to be in the discussion?
No. At no point did she deserve to be in the discussion of MVP. She deserved to be in the discussion of Rookie of the Year, the category they had her in. Like, Skip Bayless, that was in my opinion, that was clickbait. Because, okay, yeah, she's doing a hell of a job. I mean, she's, big time. She's must-see TV, box office, all that. But let's keep it real. Asia Wilson is on a whole nother planet. I'm talking about it ain't even close. So the fact that you would even put that on Twitter saying, "Oh yes, she should be in the category for MVP," no, she should not. She won Rookie of the Year. Let's not twist it. What's name was right on her bumper. If Chicago Sky don't get hurt with injuries and lose one or two players, they will probably take their wins up, maybe 4 or 5 wins, and they're in the playoffs. It's arguably a chance that she has to really fight it out, and of course she don't get hurt.
B, I see that vein popping up on the side of your head, B.
I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion,
So you thought she should have been in the category for MVP?
Okay. Well, hold on. I think it's twofold. I think you hit on something I want to touch on with Angel. I think you're doing a good job here, and you're speaking to what I'm going to say about the MVP discussion. I think it's possible to be in the MVP, and I say discussion just as a topic on TV, but not truly be a potential winner of the race, right? People can mention your name. You think about Embiid and Jokic, but you'll mention Devin Booker because he has a good month, or Giannis. But those guys are not at the front of the race. Things would have to happen, but they put themselves in. If you're a top 5 person in the league, you're in the MVP discussion, right? I think that's a fair statement. Same thing with the best quarterback in the NFL every year. Brock Purdy, for a minute, was in the MVP discussion, and rightfully so. He put together some good weeks, kind of tailed off there to the end, but he belonged in the top 5 discussion. So I think in that regard, Clark played her way into the discussion point, but it was always Wilson, Collier, and then everybody else. But I think Clark rose to the top of everybody else. I don't think that that's an outlandish statement, but I don't think we always provide context like that. I think the same thing to the Rookie of the Year discussion, where Clark, to me, especially after the middle part of June, just started to walk away with it. But Reese definitely belonged. And then Rakia Jackson was at the edge of the discussion point, right? Obviously Cam Brink got hurt early, was out. That's just my take on it, man. I think if you're number 3, 4, or 5, you're somewhere on the periphery of the discussion. And if a talking head wants to use you for clickbait, they can do that. But you at least belonged in said discussion. You were never a front runner. You were never going to win it without some things happening to the 2 people in front of you. But you were in the mix somewhere.
Well, guys, I'm of the belief that if Angel Reese stays healthy, man, and Chicago wins a couple games, Angel Reese definitely belonged in the conversation, man. Yeah, a lot of y'all, man, keep playing Angel Reese, like she not the truth.
They be straight playing her, Reed, and you got to give her a chance due. I mean, the most double-doubles in the league.
And Nafisa Collier had a great year. I stopped our conversation today to give Nafisa Collier her just due. It doesn't mean she should have been MVP. But she had a great season, respectfully. One of the best seasons on record. Asia Wilson just had a better season.
Well,
Angel Reese had a great year. Caitlin Clark just had a better year. That's what 2 things can exist, right?
So here you go with your bars again. Here you go. Here you go thinking you a rapper.
I'm from Atlanta. Hey, RP listen, RP to my boy Takeoff, but y'all know me. I'm from Atlanta, man. I walk it like I talk it.
Oh, here we go. So listen, man, the last thing we're going to touch on women's basketball today. B, you came out last week, 24/7, top 75 players in the country. A great list that got a lot of traction. Talk to us about the top kids in the list, man, and what went into your process of laying it down, because people always ask me about football rankings all the time. Right, I'm not the lead on the football rankings at 24/7, but you are the lead. You run the women's basketball rankings at 24/7. Kind of tell people what goes into making a list like this, and highlight a few of the kids at the top.
Well, I think the toughest part that people have to understand is I can't speak for everybody. I only speak for myself. I'm not here trying to kill the kid. I'm not here trying to tear anybody down, degrade anybody. That's not what this is for. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that with ours that we had an evaluation for every kid. So that, Khalees Fisher, for example, I get to talk about what I saw her do at Overtime Select or at Elite 24 at Under Armour. Put whatever number you want by her name. I probably won't even fight you. She's the best player in the country. Cool. Here's what I saw. Here's what she does. Here's what that looks like. Here's how it translates. And here's how, players before her have translated. I think that was the most important thing for me. And then, you've got, I love Fisher, Denia Prawl, who you got to play against, John, I thought was undervalued maybe by the community as a whole. I said before the fourth quarter started to actually Shane Laughlin and Jason Key, who do a good job at ESPN. Same thing, man. We're all fighting for our lives when the numbers come out. I mean, you try not to get killed in the street. But they do a really good job with their stuff too. And I said, I think double dynasty, if Prawl gets a bucket here, Harper's going to do what she does. But if Prawl gets a bucket early, they're going to kind of roll a little bit. First play of the quarter is Harpering on a dime to Prawl for a layup. And then it just started rolling. And unfortunately for John, when you're missing Hall and you're missing Green, you can't combat that, right? But I thought Prawl was a kid that I have a little bit higher than everybody else. Jada Civil didn't play in overtime, 2025, but she's a star. It's another kid that I have a little bit higher than everybody else. I think she's the Travis Hunter of the class, so to speak, where she just is really good at whatever you tell her to do. If you put a softball bat in her hand tomorrow, told her to go swing it, she'd figure out a way to bat 500 and probably steal every base known to man. Addie Deal going to Iowa. Civil's got offers from everybody, including South Carolina, LSU, Tennessee, whatever, out of Florida. Addie Deal from California, same thing. I've got her as the top 10 kid in the country. She shot it from 36% from three, 17 points. I want to say it was like 7 or 8 rebounds and like 5 or 6 assists for Cal Stars on a team with Jazzy Davidson. So just trying to find and extract some of the value. that maybe is a little bit different than where some of the other major outlets have them. You're not going to like flip the rankings just for ranking's sake. But if there are 3 or 4 kids you believe in, stand on that business, put those kids up accordingly, and then just let time do what it does. And there at the top, Carl, we talked about Chavez on the show. Her body of work speaks for itself. I thought the overtime performance, to John's point, maybe her team wasn't as complete as a couple of the other ones piece-wise, and that's fine. But I thought she was good. I thought Betts and Davidson, were absolutely fantastic. They lost in the semifinal to the Double Dynasty group of Harpering. Their guard play, again, maybe not as complete as the 2 teams that played in the finals, but Betts and Davidson were absolutely fantastic. Make here, dope. And then obviously Aaliyah Crump was on the championship team. And that's your top 5 right there. So that's kind of how I go about doing it. I'm in the gym, I'm watching. If I'm wrong, at least I was wrong. I was there. You saw me. I didn't dial it in and watch a stream. Specifically, I might watch a stream for the sake of trying to get a little more information. But in terms of being on the ground and being present, I'm definitely going to do that and be able to see some things myself. So you win some, you lose some, but I felt really good about what we did. And John, you know this. Carl, not a single person, not a one, hit my line complaining. Doesn't mean they were perfect, but at least I think it meant that being able to go read the eval, you're like, okay, I don't agree with the number, but what he said about my kid or what he said about the kid I train or represent or whatever have you was absolutely right. And that's why I really fought hard for that eval piece. And big shout out to Xavier Hamilton for making that happen. He's done a lot of work on the backside there. Never gets enough credit, but he does a great job.
Xavier is excellent at what he does, big time.
He's done a great job.
So let me ask you specifically, and John, you got a chance to play against her too. Kate Harper, I've been watching her since she first started playing with you and you first started talking about it. She's pretty much ascended to be arguably the top player in the country in that class. Talk to me a little bit about Harper.
Well, I'll say this: if you watch Caitlin Clark, as far as how hard she plays and how she impacts the game, that's what Kate Harper does. She might not shoot it as well as Caitlin Clark, but she just all over the place. Like, she impacts it in every facet of the game. Like, she gonna defend. When she has the ball in her hand, she gonna make the right play. She's not forcing anything. She's just taking whatever you give her. If she got a wide open 3, take a wide open 3. If she can drive and kick it to somebody, she's gonna do that. She picking you up 84 feet, playing defense. She's not afraid to guard. She'll go in there and mix it up and get a rebound. Like, she's just at a different level because she plays harder than everyone else. It's not, for me, it's not really a skill set thing that I looked at her and said I was wild by her skill. I just knew that, from watching film and from seeing her with the eye test, she plays harder than everyone else. And that's a premium in the basketball game.
You just compared her to Caitlin Clark.
I did.
Wow.
I did. Because I'm not going to lie, like, I knew of her. I didn't really know her, but I knew she played with B. Clay. And then when I got a chance to see it with the eye test, how she impacts the game is just on a whole nother level. And that's just, you can dice it up how you want to. You can look at all the players in the 26 class. You can look at all the players in the 25 class. Like, if I did a top 5 or a top 10, if she would be top 10 no matter the class. Now, of course, they would say I'll be biased and say, I think Kalina's probably the best basketball player known to man because she's the littlest person on the earth, but how she distributes and shoots and all that is just on a different level. But Kate, man, she plays extremely hard. And that, for me, is, like I said, it's more of a premium than anything because she's willing to guard. Like, how many players that can fill it up and willing to guard defensively and go get a rebound?
Can we get Kate Harper in school in St. Louis to play against Vashon High School?
Absolutely not. Listen, let me tell you something. Calls. I'm gonna be like, dude, you have Reese and there's no longer.
Oh no.
Hey, listen,
there ain't no way we will play against Kate. So why should you have 40?
That's hilarious. She had 45 in the state semifinal against a team that had 5 Division I kids. Unbelievable performance.
She had 21 on us in the championship game, and it felt like she had 35.
Okay, so here's agree to all of this, and this is one of the coolest things I think about getting the chance to be around her on a consistent basis. I thought everything John said was absolutely correct. I think because she plays so hard, you almost have a tendency to devalue her skill, right? Whether it's the floater, whether it's the pull-up midi, whether it's the three ball out of the corner off of the kick, whether it's the spin cycle that she put on Fleming's there at the end that really ended the game. Like that layup was the layup, right? The night before, it was her racking Jazzy Davidson to the left hand. So both nights.
That was the offensive foul too. I went back and watched.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that, man. That's why you got the technical.
She's still going to land the ball up.
Hey, man, Jazzy Davidson 6'3". I don't want to hear that. But it's so 2 nights in a row, you take a kid who gets a lot of credit for playing hard, and she makes the skill play of the night on offense. One was the spin cycle blend in the half court to the right on the lay. The night before, it's a left hand outstretched over the number 3 kid in the class above her who's got about 4.5, 5 inches. So it's great because you're right, but I think you watch her play and she plays so hard that you almost forget to give her credit for just how skilled she is. And I think that's the thing that people kind of walked back to this summer is that, oh man, she plays hard. Yes, she does. But she also might be the most skilled prospect in her class and on the right day, maybe in the country. And then to your point, we'll take the fourth quarter of the overtime championship game and we'll guard Kalina Smith. It's really interesting, right? You just don't get that type of diversity from kids, in their games where you're able to defend that way, play that hard, skilled, shoot the three, shoot the floater. Like there's nothing in the bag that she can't do. She can play on the ball. She can play off the ball. You could throw it to her in the pitch. Shout out to your boy, Jason Tatum. She can play out of there. She does a lot of different stuff. And I think because she does so much stuff well, you almost have a tendency to take the skill stuff away and just say she plays hard, which is true, but the skill stuff is just as good and just as important as the work ethic. So it's been cool to watch, man.
I'm just blown that somebody from St. Louis is ducking smoke. Like John is ducking.
Hey, that's where I'm from. That's called being smart, man. There's a difference between ducking smoke and being smart, man.
Well, that ain't what it's called where he from.
Now, let's call a spade a spade. If my clip is loaded, you already know I'm ready to shoot. So don't do that. Don't ever, because you do this once a year where you start some madness on one line.
Who, me?
About ducking. A couple years ago, I was ducking Rothers. Remember? Remember you said that? Remember you said I was, and there's nobody in the area that can say they played them how I played them. And truthfully, we lost because of me. It was my fault.
I'm gonna say this.
My kids.
At the time, I wasn't the one who said it when it was brought to my attention. I just had to call you and ask because at the time
you got to stop it, man. You got to stop it. Now you know when I'm loaded, I'm playing anybody in the country. Give me my team back for 2 years ago. I'll play anybody in the country. We had no problem, and we didn't have a big. We didn't have a player with 5'9". So let's just keep it real. If I ever had a big, everybody in the country in trouble.
Hey, we talking about you like you don't got a bunch. He got enough state championship rings that if he going to pawn them all, he can pay his rent for a couple months.
It's a little heavy on both hands.
Yeah, so he gotta. We can't play John cheap. He's definitely done brought some hardware, but I still do think that you should allow Harpin to come to the city of St. Louis and play a basketball game because the fans in St. Louis deserve to see her play.
If she want to come to St. Louis, I got some matchups for her. You put against in Cornet, Live for Life, all the loaded teams right now. Put them against the Rockbridge. Gonna be
Live for Life still loaded.
Big Porter sister. They was all freshmen last year.
Really?
They graduated. They graduated one senior. Everybody else, the twins can't come back. You got the other point guard that's gonna be a junior. They're gonna be loaded for the next 2 to 3 years for sure. Okay. If they don't lose kids eventually to prep schools and all that, because you look at my whole ISO World team, all of them transferred. They all left their original high schools except I think one, and transferred to either IMG, Montverde, or what's the school in New York? What's the prep school?
Long Island Lutheran.
Yeah, Long Island Lutheran.
So that's becoming a big thing in girls basketball. Like, back in the day, all the boys would go to Oak Hill and Mount Zion and Mount Verde. That wasn't as big with the girls, as it was with the boys. So the girls are starting to do that a lot now.
I would say I think more parents are looking at situations and saying, my kid is a basketball player. They can know they can focus on just basketball going to those schools. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that going to some of the public institutions, to be honest. Like, they're not funded the way they need to be funded. So you can actually get out and go play against a top competition. And that's a hard bargain when you got kid that could be a top 25 kid or a kid that can be top 40. But if they played at a prep school, that top 40 cannot be bumped into top 25 because they're playing with other good players and they having some matchups with some of the top kids and they're having good games against them. That's going to help them when B. Clay come watch you play.
Well said.
Hey, well, listen. It's time for us to get into football now, John. Smoke finna come on here. Smoke finna log in. John,
I got to get off here, man.
Go ahead.
I got all my peoples in timeout. They literally quiet. We here we're watching Monday night.
Hey, is anybody over there that I know?
Yeah, you know Sheena. It's a few people over here. Alicia ain't over here though, so the big talk not over.
Tell Alicia I don't want no smoke. I don't want no smoke. And she been doing it, and make sure you let her know she been doing a better job getting her eyebrows straight.
Oh, you know what? I will screen record that part. I'm gonna go back, and I will definitely put that in our group chat.
All right, bro. I'll let you.
All right, bro.
All right.
Dude, I have no idea where that was going, but that was the best part of our show so far. That was amazing.
Shout out to John. He's doing great.
Shout out to Sheena, man. Shout out to Sheena. Alicia.
Shout out to my homegirl, Alicia from St. Louis, man. Alicia, really good basketball coach herself. B, we got to get into this college football. Now it's time. It's time for college football. Give me some of your thoughts from the games. Is like what's at the top of your list from the game?
Okay, listen, but I don't want to do this because I feel like everybody tries you on this top, but I have to. Did you watch with your boy Prime, Wester, Shador? It's raining. They celebrating Slash like crazy. Baylor Big 12 game. Travis Hunter with the fumble at the end. You can't script better TV than this. And unlike last year, right? Anytime there was a script like that for last year, they would have found a way to have lost it, especially after the Nebraska game early. The boy Dylan from Buford came out, did the city proud. They got it rocking. But to Colorado's credit, they bounced back like round ball. 3-1. Talk to us. What do you see the rest of the year? Last year, 3-1, it was a little tricky. Give me what you got, man.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. Last year they would have lost a game like that.
Yep.
A couple bad things happen. Turnover. You give up the kickoff return for a touchdown, right? You score, then boom. Right after that, you give up a kickoff return for a touchdown. On that same drive, a play or two before, I can't remember. I think it was Webster or Weaver dropped the touchdown pass. Right, that he would have walked in the end zone. So all of those things from a resilience standpoint were things that a year ago that team folds in that type of situation. They kind of get down on themselves. So they fought through that B. And obviously the play, Travis Hunter, like I posted on social media Saturday night. Every game that you see Trav, you see he does something that, you've probably never seen before. So from that standpoint, it was good, but just the resiliency to keep it going. The touchdown pass was huge to send the game into overtime. And then when you think about the Travis Hunter tackle, textbook, how you teach it at the clinic, ball comes out, fumble, Colorado wins. Just an excellent way to finish a ball game.
It's been amazing, again, just the amount of noise in a positive way, right? When you're doing something worthwhile, people start to talk. And just the way that the noise has continued. It didn't die off with a tough year last year. If anything, the noise is a little more heightened now, right? Yep. They're not going to be any good. It's all false. And they've I can't imagine day in and day out being Travis and Shador. Obviously Dion, but he's not playing the game, right? The guys that are playing the game. And for those two young men to be able to do what they've done, and then Travis obviously playing on both sides the entire game, he's made that normal. Like, it's not a one-take gimmick or one-season gimmick. He's making it normal. I've never seen anything like it. It's really cool, man. Talk to me about, obviously, Oklahoma tough loss on their home field, but does this mean the hype on the Tennessee are for real? I love what I was watching the other day. They found a way to win a tough game. Oklahoma was dirty. Oklahoma's quarterback play looks a little suspect. Give me your take on that.
I'm going to tell you right now, man, Tennessee playing big-time ball, bro. Josh Heupel doing an incredible job. And the key to it is the quarterback, Nico. Nico, like, he's what they supposed to look like. Like, when you talk about a top-tier quarterback, a five-star kid, an Elite 11 quarterback that's amongst the top guys in the nation, and then he's the perfect quarterback for Heupel's system. Probably out of everybody that's playing right now in the country, there's probably not a kid who's a cleaner fit for a system than what Nico is for what Tennessee has going on. So when you think about the Tennessee Vols this year, you gotta understand, bro, that they for real. They have a quarterback. They have a defense now. They playing better on defense. Like, Tennessee is going to be a problem. They're going to be a tough out. And with the quarterback they have now, and what Josh Heupel does offensively, man, they can score from anywhere on the field, period. And so they're going to always be a threat in every game.
Now, I like the Samson kid, too, at running back. I'll get a chance to watch them in person in November. They come to Athens to play the Dogs, and that thing, obviously, we'll get to Georgia, Alabama in a minute, but that thing's shaping up as it was a couple of years ago when Hendon Hooker was here, right? Like, it was going to be one of those games. And Heupel's just done such a great job of rebounding the program. I was talking with a parent, actually a young lady in my club named Finley Parker, top 50 kid in the country at 27. Her dad, Paul's a big Tennessee guy. And we were just kind of going back and forth about the program and the way they've changed it. And, I mean, I said this before the season. I'm glad to get back on here so I can stand on business. So y'all know, but nah, you never said. I did say this. I thought that 6 teams from the SEC, I thought 5 was definite, 6 was possible. You looked at me a little funny when I said it. Right now it's 6 out of 7. They won't stay that way because they're going to start beating each other. Georgia, Alabama being an example. But if the games are as competitive as I think that they'll be, even Oklahoma, who I think might have found, it'll be interesting to see what Venables does over the coming weeks. The Hawkins kid played well, right? Do they go back to Arnold? Do they stay with Hawkins and just go with the true freshmen, take their lumps like Heupel did last year with Nico? I mean, what do they do? It'll be really interesting to see where that plays out. Obviously, want to get Smoke's take on this too before we change subjects to Georgia, Alabama. But I still think 5 is a definite for the SEC and the 12 with a possible number 6, depending on how bad the rest of the leagues are. There's some bad football being played out there right now, fellas.
Well, first of all,
the SEC is the recipient here.
First of all, with Smoke joining us now, Smoke, you welcome. I see that you got the gifts of the razor blades that I sent you. Number one, you welcome for that.
No doubt. Right? Stop right now. I'm good. I'm in good condition right now.
Yeah, you top of the top.
Yeah.
So right now we talking Tennessee, right? We talking University of Tennessee. They finally got depth on defense that they haven't had in the past. Obviously, Nico's a star. Yeah. Is Tennessee a real contender right now, Smoke?
Absolutely. And it's not because of their offensive prowess, because they've been putting up numbers. They've been putting up points. Tim Banks and that defense is playing like top 5, top 10 level type defense, Reed. Whenever you put a defensive coordinator with an offensive mastermind like Coach Heupel, and you're able to play complementary football on defense and offense, because you and I both know, if you're playing good defense, your special teams is going to be like that as well, too, because majority of your special team players come from defense, especially on the cover units. There ain't too much returning going on anyway in terms of kickoffs. Punt return, it's a splash every now and then, but punt and kickoff, that's where you're setting the tone at. And yes, when you said depth, they can roll 8, 9 guys in on the defensive line. And when those guys come in, it's not like they were 2 or 3 years ago where you had your first platoon that was really good and your second was a drop-off. Your first and your second are fighting for reps, which that's something that you want. So, yeah, I hate Tennessee, but they are 1,000%
Hey, I knew the word hate was going to be said at some
with a
point.
passion, with a passion.
What's the next game we got on tap?
I want to talk about, before we get to the Georgia Alabama, because that's Smoke is the creme de la creme, and I can't wait. I'm glad you're here for this one. Talk to me about Florida, Reed. Tough start, found their way out of the dead, so to speak. Mertz got better. Lagway played well the week before. Do you go to Lagway? What do you do if you're trying to save this thing if you're Napier? Because it was headed south fast. At least you're 2-2. You beat someone who you're supposed to beat in Mississippi State, right? A game you had to win. He loses, and they probably round the money up to fire him before he leaves the stadium. What do you do when there's smoke come in after Reed, man? Talk to me, Carl.
Well, I play Lagway. I just played a young kid that's super talented and go with him. That would be, my opinion on the situation. But I think right now that he's probably in a situation where he can't save his job.
Right.
Like, I just think they're already ready to move on. The problem that you have now is you got to look at it with this transfer portal era. If you fire your coach mid-season, you really run the risk of guys completely checking out on the season, and you leaving a complete train wreck to whatever assistant takes over in the interim for the rest of the year. So it's not just as easy. Everybody fire him. Well, whoever's going to replace him can't replace him until after the season. So there's really not a rush to go out and fire him. Now, they can do all their back channeling, and they can meet with search firms, and they can start putting a list together and taking names now, engaging people's interest, because all of those things are going to go on during the season. Like, college coaches are going to handle their business while the games are still being played, and their representation is going to be speaking on their behalf. So from that standpoint, I don't think it's anything that he can do to save his job, but he's really auditioning to finish strong to see if he can get opportunity somewhere else when this season is over.
Well, Reed, you touched it on all parts, but I'll just add in a few. If the problem is not Billy Napier, the problem is Florida in a whole, like the university. We're in an era of collective and NIL. Florida don't have enough money, and you and I don't have to say it. It's being proven, because they can't get the $26 million to get rid of Napier. On top of that, you and I spoke about it. You have to now put together another $150 million for the new coach that's coming in, because you and I both know if a new coach comes in, that's a $100 million guy at minimum. On top of that, you have to have $20 to $30 million right now to put into your collective to now keep your team together and also be able to bring whoever's coming with their players with them. Because if you don't do that, like you said earlier, you're losing out 2 recruiting classes. You're losing the classes just signed with you and your players that are there now. And also the players that you've been working on are now out the building, because the coaches that recruited them aren't going to be there anymore.
And when you talk about 20, 30 million, you're talking about 20, 30 million a year. Like, you ain't talking about
Correct.
20, 30. Like,
Correct.
They got to be ready to come with that every single year to fill that roster up.
Correct. So that at a minimum, to get rid of Napier and start out fresh and to do it right, that's close to $150 to $180 million right when everything gets done in December to get us moving in the right direction. Because if that's not the case, you're really behind 3 more years, and you're now putting that coach in a bad situation, a la what's happened at Auburn. Because when you lose your coach, you're losing a good majority of your team. You're already losing a third that was going to hit the transfer portal anyway. Kids that's hitting you up right now, Reed, are thinking about jumping in there. On top of your coach leaving now, you're going to lose another 20%. So half of your good players, not the ones that can't play anywhere, your good players are leaving your program with a new coach coming in that has to now reestablish himself with already a collective or a salary cap that's not there. So how are you purchasing and getting new talent in order to compete in one of the best, if not the best conference in college football?
I agree with you, man. I just think that they got a lot of soul searching that they have to do as a university. It's deeper than the coach, because whatever coach comes and takes over, if he don't have the money to compete from an NIL standpoint, they're going to be mad, because nobody's going to be happy with Florida. Even if Florida was going 8-4 every year, they would still fire you over that. Right? Like they want to compete for national championships. They want to see the Urban Meyer and the Steve Spurrier era again. And if they don't come up with the NIL money to get those guys paid, those days are behind us.
And also, Reese, you know, coordinators going for $2 million a piece.
You're about to have to pay your GM $1 million.
You'll have to come up and pony up your GM and pay him.
Yeah, you have to pay GM.
And then you have to put together a real good personnel department. That's not being cheap anymore, right? You can't say I'm just going to get a whole bunch of kids to buzz through film and go on this recruiting website, go on that recruiting website and get all those players. Them days are done. If you want to go out and search for 5 stars and only want to sign 5 stars, 5 stars cost money too. And majority of those stars aren't really worth it unless you have somebody there to put together your roster and your building that suits you and fits you, that you're going to have guys that's going to be willing to stay through the hard times, because there's going to be some bumpy roads. You can't be under 500 over 3 or 4 years and think the next year you're going to jump up and magically clip out 10 wins. Not going to happen. And on top of that, who are the candidates that's willing to leave their successful program that they've established, their collective, their recruiting department, their personnel department, to come to a place where it's all over the place? Nothing is stable. Who's willing to do that? And I know Florida is not willing to dip down to a low level to grab a guy to come in and do it, because if you go down and grab a guy at a lower level, do they know how to handle
you
what's
get
going on
Napier
right
again?
now?
You do that, you're just repeating the mistake. Here's an interesting one. Going back to last Saturday, because it touches on what both of y'all spoke to. Southern California, who goes out and hires Lincoln Riley, cuts the check. And then Michigan, who elevates Moore, who was already there during the Harbaugh era, where at least they had some things still in place. I know it's not the same roster by any means. Grasp that, get it. But a lot of at least kind of the protocols and systems are in place. Michigan's able to win. Big win for them after getting blasted by Texas. But I think that speaks more to how good Sark and them are, like where Texas is, as opposed to how bad Michigan was, because that's a good win for Michigan at home. I know I just mentioned Finley Parker. Her dad been a Tennessee guy, but she was at the game on Saturday. Actually picked up an offer from Kim Barnes and Rico on her staff there in Michigan. But walk me through kind of what you're seeing from Coach Moore in Michigan, and then also what this means, from Lincoln Riley, where you feel like maybe they're turning the corner a little bit here early with the big win at LSU, and now maybe a minor setback with the loss, man.
Well, when you look at Michigan is a staying the course of who they are. I thought what Jim Harbaugh did was an outstanding job of leaving an established organization or university already. It's rinse and repeat, because the same guys that we're winning with last year are the same guys that are there now. Maybe not with the depth in terms of defensive line, but the culture is there, the understanding there. The head coach that's there now was the head coach in pivotal games, and he won. So you don't have to go in and wholesale culture to a group of young people that want to play for Michigan, want to play for Coach Moore. And then you go out and get Wink Martindale to come in and run the same defense that Jesse Minter ran, because Jesse Minter worked for Wink Martindale in Baltimore. So you're getting the same players, same coaching, same philosophy, same playbook. So it's just a rinse and repeat, and Coach Harbaugh left them in a great situation to compete. I don't think they're national champions, but they're in a great situation to compete for the Big Ten at best. Now, when you look at USC, I think what Coach Riley did was awesome, because I don't think they come in a game like they did this past weekend and compete like they did with the team that they had last year. That's a remarkable job on the defensive side. Tough game. Both teams played well. But at the end of the day, somebody has to win. And the team that made the least amount of mistakes, which was Michigan, and had explosive plays, which was Michigan, won in a tough game. But hats off to Coach Riley for doing what I didn't think they were going to be able to do until I saw it on paper and on film. Play tough, hard-nosed football, travel from west to east, which is also tough in a hostile environment, and come out almost with a W.
Well, I'm going to tell you, too, with Link's team at USC, I think he's finally got the coaches on defense that he needs for them to compete at a national level. They still are another recruiting cycle away from having the talent that they need to play for national championships, because they still, from an NIL standpoint too, they got to get some of that figured out as well. But finally, he's got the defensive coordinator to go with him and what he does on offense. I think they're going to be fine. They're not quite ready to play for a national championship yet, but I do think that USC is a year away. Their quarterback will come back to school next year. They're going to load up on defense, on recruits. They're going to load up with the kind of guys that they need. They'll get a couple of key additions at receiver out of the transfer portal. They got a good group of young receivers. Smoke, you and I did a commitment for Corey Sims. He picked USC. Yeah. He won a big game Friday night. So the recruits are coming in. Lincoln is recruiting the offensive guys at a high level. He's got the defensive coordinator to go with him. I think USC will be fine there in building. What people don't realize is regardless of what anybody thinks, you don't turn the program around in a couple of years. It is really a process, and it doesn't matter how restless the fans get, how upset alums and former players get. You have to stay the course on what it takes to build a program for you to have any foreseeable future success. And if you don't stay the course on it, then your program is going to implode at some point.
Right. That makes sense. And I thought the most impressive thing, honestly, tuned in is that Michigan was able to win a game of that magnitude with 32 passing yards. You talk about old school football, man. It doesn't get much more old school than that. You beat another ranked team at home after the Texas debacle with 32 passing yards. Real credit to the whole staff, honestly, for keeping the morale high, because that morale could have gone south. That was an ugly game to watch, but here we are, and now they're right back in the thick of it. Obviously, in conference, Texas doesn't count against them. In conference, right back at the top. Ohio State still in line sight. Easier said than done. Them jokers are good up there in Columbus, but mathematically, you're still right where you want to be. Game of the week coming up. Let's get the proceed and read for the first time. I'm not even going to make you defend Coach Drinkwitz and Mizzou. They got out of there the same way Georgia did versus Kentucky. They got out. They got out of there. Kirby got out of there. Both of them won. They lived to fight and see another day. So let's talk about Georgia and Alabama. Reed, you're the innocent bystander. I'm going to let you go first.
Hey, B, you know what? Can I give a shout out real quick?
Absolutely.
To our last show that we had Clark Lee on. Clark Lee, I know that the record's not saying it, but right now if I had a vote, I would give him a vote for Coach of the Year in the SEC.
Very fair.
Just for the simple fact that if you make a field goal or player two are there, you beat Missouri and Virginia Tech. And Carl and I both know what type of team that they have over there. He's getting the most out of what he has over there on the West End and playing the type of football that I don't believe a lot of staffs of teams want to go into and play. They make it real dirty and real muddy for you in order to come out with a victory. That wasn't by luck the way they played against Missouri. They played a disciplined, sharp, well-coached team. And like I said, I called Reed and I was FaceTime messing with him, but shout out to Coach Lee over there for doing an outstanding job of getting his guys to play unorthodox football, but it's sound. And when good player goes against not so good player, the good player usually wins. Shout out to Luther Bird for making that.
I'm gonna tell you what, he's another guy that I think was a great hire for his school.
Correct.
Now he played fullback at Vanderbilt, but correct. We need more football guys coaching football teams.
Correct.
Right? And Clark Lee is a football guy.
Yes.
And you might not win the press conference with him, but you're gonna win some football games. He does a great job calling the defense. He's recruited his type of guys. He's got Jerry Kill and Tim Beck now over there running the offense, and they are a problem with that option. They know how they are experts at the option, and so the way that they're running that program and what he has going on over there, top tier, the job that Clark Lee is doing.
Well, let me throw something in on this because I agree with everything y'all are saying. I love it. When you start talking about, I call it method to the madness, right? When you watch what Vanderbilt has done, Carl, even back to the Barton Simmons hire at the very beginning, just a little bit unconventional, right? You can always debate how much a Courtney Morgan or a Barton Simmons or any of those people bring to the program, but the proof is in the pudding that they're taking some guys that maybe aren't as highly regarded from recruiting lists and all these evaluators, and they're getting it done. They're getting mid-major transfers to come over and play good winning football. They lose the Humphreys kid to Georgia. They're still competing at a really high level. quarterback play-wise, 720 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, but most importantly, 0 interceptions. And that's what's giving them a chance to win games right now is they're not unnecessarily turning the football over in big games against Virginia Tech and against Missouri. And you're forcing Luther Burden, who's a top 5 caliber draft pick, to beat you. And if Luther Burden goes for 780 and 2 touchdowns, you know what? You were going to lose anyway. At least you didn't lose by 20. So credit to them for being willing to take some different types of chances. They've kind of constructed that roster a little differently than most. It reminds me a lot of, honestly, what the Duke regime had done. Obviously, Elko and those guys, Elko since moved on, but Duke had gone about it a little bit differently. They weren't getting the same type of stars, but Riley Leonard was so effective at running the football that now Notre Dame grabs him out the portal to try and guide a team that's in the top 10. So easier said than done, but they got through what looked like some bumps in the road, especially early, and now they're putting up competitive numbers against really good football teams.
AB, with all that said, they might have hired a young guy out of he was working for the Buffalo Bills at that time that helped build that whole entire thing together, named Gerald Dixon. That
talk to him. Talk to him.
Also goes by smoke that Clark Lee and Barton Simmons did a really good job of putting together a personnel department that was unconventional. And like you said, the way I constructed it just like the league that I was leaving. I had a portal side before the portal thing was big and a high school side. And I had guys focusing on what they were good at. I want you guys to focus on the high school side, and I had another side to focus on the portal. So it's almost like treating it the pro side and the college side. And when we went into the whole ranking of players and putting together a board, it was personnel driven. It wasn't coaches driven. It was personnel driven. So we gave the coaches guys that they need to look at and rank. And when they ranked it, Coach Lee, myself, and Barton, Box, Brandon Jones, Kendall Lawson, we all went into the room and we put the board together. The same board that's getting the Humphreys, the AJ Swans, like ripped apart from Vanderbilt. Guys that we put on the team, put on the map, that's now number 1, number 2, Will Shepherd, 3, 4 in rankings at their position in the transfer portal. So again, unconventional way of doing it. But right now, when you look at it in 2024, 25, Carl Reed and I look at it like, that's a conventional way of doing it. We just did that back in 22.
You know, it's really the only way to look at your roster, understanding how many guys you need in position, the critical factors for every single position that guys are playing. And I don't see how you can look at your roster construction any other way now.
Right. And you also got to recruit. And I'm not going to belabor the fact that we're going to talk about Jordan, Alabama, but you have to recruit to what fits you. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of schools that are recruiting players for another school.
Yeah.
And it's not, and you're wasting time. And we all don't have that much time. So you have to create the matrix and the formula that works for you. And that's going out and hiring somebody that thinks outside of the box. Just like Coach Lee said to us, C. Reed, he had to go back and retool his coaching staff.
Yeah. Because
the first time when going through it, that he didn't have the type of players that could play in the form of conventional offense. So I had to get unconventional coaches to coach unconventional players to win in unconventional ways. And that's what they're showing college football, that everyone does not need to play the same way. We all can't recruit the same way. We all can't go off of Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State way of recruiting. You have to go by the way that you can recruit. You have to pay the players that can fit into your ball club. You can't pay a tackle $1 million if your collective only has 8 or 9 mil. Yep. You have to spread that out the proper way and get the right players, regardless of stars, to fit your building to perform at a high clip for you in order for you to have an opportunity to now win and celebrate on Saturdays.
And in order for you to do it that way, Smoke, you might not be able to take who's ranked the number 1 offensive tackle in the country because he wants $1 million. He wants $1.5 million. You have to find value. You have to be able to evaluate and go deeper on your list. And you might have to spend $1 million for your entire offensive line, right? So you've got to be able to find guys that are good enough to play at their level, guys that you can develop, guys that are going to fit into your culture and that are going to be good football players. So a lot of people kind of get that misconstrued. You going and grabbing the top guy from over here and the top guy from over there doesn't mean you're going to have a good football team.
Absolutely not.
Reed, last thing, I saw something that you posted. Now I want to get to the main event. I'm ready. But you talked about, I believe it was the quarterback from Navy, which is my dad's alma mater, and you're like, yo, you're better off trying to coach this way than you are trying to coach the way Shedeur Sanders is playing, because y'all ain't got Shedeur walking down your halls. Y'all don't have Shedeur on your roster, but you have a much better chance of having this young man who can do a little of everything and coaching to him. Talk to us about that post, and then we're going to talk about the main event. Smoke, get your boxing gloves up.
Man, I'm ready to take a punch, bro. I'm done.
So listen, when I was coaching in high school, I went to a clinic, and a coach educated me on something. Matter of fact, it was Fred Bouchard was the head coach at Staley High School. He had just came off of winning state that year. And then he gave a study, and I kind of expanded the study for myself. So in 2015, 16, 17, one of those years when we were really digging into this, out of all 50 states, right, 88% of the teams that won state championships in every class ran for at least 3,000 yards, right? So if you took the 12%, right, that didn't run for 3,000 yards, they had one thing in common. They had a Division I quarterback, and they had at least 2 other Division I skill type guys, right? So in the state of Missouri, from 1980 to 2016 or 17, there were only 5 guys that were recruited as quarterbacks and finished their college career playing quarterback. I'm not talking about the guys that got moved to receiver and DB and stuff like that. So my question became, why are we running an offense that's predicated on you having a quarterback that not only do you not have, you probably will never have, right? And nobody else in the area has had. And so I think there's a bigger likelihood that you have a quarterback in your building that can run the triple option than you do a quarterback who can run spread RPO stuff. And obviously we had Aqeel Glass, and he went to and he was the SWAC offensive player of the year twice at quarterback. And when we had him, we threw it around. But there are so many high school programs that lose because they're unwilling to play a system that fits their personnel. And all of these guys think that they can call. And number one, there ain't probably more than 10 guys in the country who really know how to coach a quarterback, right? So the list is so small. And I go to high school games all the time. You know, my son coaches high school football. I was a high school coach. There are so many quarterbacks that are coached so poorly. What makes you think that you can improve? Like, what qualifications do you have to improve a kid's throwing, his decision making? Do you understand how to read? Do you understand how to read? There was a lot of fun smoke this week when Mel Kiper was talking about too high. Well, just because you went too high don't mean you're in cover 2. You might be in cover 4. You might be in cover 6. You might be in cloud. You might be in match. It's a lot of different things that go into that. And most guys, they don't understand that. They don't have it in their bag. They don't have it in their arsenal. And you out here trying to coach the quarterback position, and you just don't have that guy. And then you also aren't that guy. You know what I mean when it comes to coaching the quarterback position. So I just think there's a lot of programs, especially from a high school standpoint, who instead of going and looking at Gus Malzahn and what he's doing and trying to be Lincoln Riley and trying to, let your kid be Shedeur and all that, you should be going and visiting Navy and Army. You should be going and visiting Hardin, who won the D2 national championship running the flex bone, and give yourself a system that can give your kids an opportunity to win. I'll give you 2 examples. Jerry Kill, who we just talked about this on the offensive staff now at Vanderbilt, legendary coach. He won 3 state championships as a high school coach in Missouri running the split back veer option, right? He's been an option guru for a long time. And if you look at his trajectory, Gus Malzahn was a high school coach. What did he run? He ran the wing tee. He started off winning big running the wing tee. So, a lot of guys just not giving themselves, the teams, the opportunity to win big. And so that's why I made that tweet.
I love it.
Reed, you know what? If I can follow on that real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, B.
No, you're good.
What you just said was a mouthful. I don't think people will even hear that. So I hope everybody goes back and listens to that really, really slow, so that can get really in your head to understand what he just said. You can't coach players that you don't have. You can't coach a scheme that you truly don't understand. But understand that every particular scheme that Carl just talked about, split zone, triple option, veer, all of that is read zone. Triple option is RPO. So it's based from what the original game started from. It just evolved into something else that others can understand. But if you don't understand it, don't do it. And I came on when you guys were just finishing up the conversation about Oklahoma, and I want to just touch on it. Oklahoma's defense played excellent, elite level on Saturday. Them benching that young fella, Jackson Arnold, that's an injustice to the way that they've been coaching him. They are a mess on offense. And correct me if I'm not right. The offensive coordinator now is where now, Carl? He left last year, Mississippi State.
He's at Mississippi State, head coach at Mississippi State.
So what you just said, the person that was there that was tutoring him, teaching him how to play the position, now has left the building. So when now the mastermind has left the building, the teacher for the pupil to teach him the game at a high level has left the building, who do you replace him with? And when you replace him with the new teacher, how does he feel and is he comfortable with the new format that he's been getting taught? You watch film of Oklahoma's offense, they look nothing like they did last year. They're not the quarterback eyes are all over the place. He's looking at the rush. He's only the side that he's reading to, guys aren't getting open, and there's nothing that's quarterback friendly for a young guy that truly does not understand how to play quarterback yet at the collegiate level. But yet you bench him. So now that you bench him, what have you lost? You've lost your team. Because you can bench a Mike linebacker. And that's where I sometimes I get into my own head and say, if I was a GM of this team, would I hire an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator? My mind typically goes more to the offensive guys because they understand how to function with a quarterback. Mm-hmm. The way that you cater to a quarterback is totally different than any other position on the team because they're so fragile.
Yeah, they're mentally fragile.
But they also control and hold the keys to the team. So when your team is looking around and you've taken out their guy that you've said anointed him as a quarterback, you let the other guy, the lefty, walk out the building and go to Oregon, Dylan Gabriel.
Kind of pushed him out a little bit.
Pushed him out. And he's up there spinning it. So now when you do that and you say second quarter of a big time game, I'm gonna take you out. Yeah, you can't if you replace him with the backup. We all know the backup is not better than the starter because if he was, he wouldn't be the backup. Mm-hmm. So when you do that, what are you telling your team? We're done. And you're going into maybe the most brutal schedule next to Florida in the SEC. So what are you going to hang your hat on? You can't hang your hat on defense all game. You got to score.
You got to score in this area. You can't shut people out anymore.
So I apologize for going on a tangent, but I
love that.
I didn't like the way they handled that situation. You got to live with it, especially for a young talented guy. This is a part of his growth. Just like every coach, every personnel guy, they've had their bumps. We've all missed on one, but you got to come back and say, what did I learn? You can't I'm pulling you out the game. That's what most coaches always talk about, Reed, is reacting and responding. Mm-hmm. And what I saw on Saturday was a reaction of pulling a young guy. It wasn't a response. They haven't been playing well on offense. That wasn't the first game. Mm-hmm. So either you fix it during the week, but don't show up on game day and have a knee-jerk reaction. But now we can get to the show at hand, B.
I love that, especially in a tight ball game. It wasn't like it was 45-0 out the way, blowout. You lost by 10 to a ranked team. So agree completely with that. All right, let's get to it. Carl, give me your take. You got number 2 versus number 4 in the lights. Hey, this is what ABC paid all the money for when they bought the rights to the SEC away from poor CBS. This is what they paid for Georgia versus Alabama. Hey, as long as and this is not trying to be funny, as long as the Hurricane doesn't do anything crazy, pray for everybody involved. Pray for everybody involved the next couple of days. I'm going to be in there. I'm going to be in the building, smoke, count me in. I'm there. I'm outside. I'm waiting on this. Talk to me, Reed. Give me your expert opinion before I listen to what Smoke got to say.
Well, I feel like you guys want me to pick a winner. And
no. Just give us a breakdown.
I try to stay away from that. But what I will say it's going to, as it always is when Bama plays Georgia, it's going to be a lot of NFL activity on the field on Saturday.
Yeah.
A lot of guys. I'm really excited to see Jalen Milroe play. And I'm willing to, and I want to see how they unleash him in the passing game. You know, Kalen DeBoer is one of those guys that improves quarterbacks' ability to pass the football, and he's looked really good. And the freshman receiver, Ryan Williams, is special. I mean, you're talking about a kid that's 17 years old who is unbelievable. Imagine that this kid literally could still be a senior in high school going against high school kids. It's got to be completely unfair. I mean, he is box office. I'm really excited for this one. Georgia hurt my head a little bit with the Kentucky game, but styles make fights. And over the course of a championship season, everybody runs into one of those kind of games where you don't play well and the team takes you to the limit. But championship programs find a way to win. They found a way to get out of that game with Kentucky. So I'm excited as ever for this one on Saturday.
Well, it's going to be muddy. Let's not. The rain is coming, so you have to be prepared for inclement weather. And when you study both teams, neither one's played clean so far. Both teams have had their stumble. South Florida for Bama, Kentucky for Georgia, but they both came out on top. And you see both teams getting better. My biggest issue with Georgia's defense versus Alabama's offense is the ability to play Jalen Milroe when he breaks first level contain and he starts playing off of his platform, second level off script plays. That's what got Bama to that W last year. But uncharacteristic of what Nick Saban's defense and Kirby's defense, they started putting a spy on Jalen Milroe, which I think is probably one of the worst things that you can possibly do. Now, if we get into the football bag of things, Carl, you and I go at it. You become the Georgia's defense, I'll become the Bama's offense, right? So when you take a defender, now you make him a spy, and you go to zone, you're now removing a player from that particular zone because he's now being controlled by this quarterback. If the quarterback moves left, he has to move to his right to get outside of that, which now opens up a window behind him.
It opens up the window for easy pass completion when you do that.
Correct.
If that's how you decide to play that.
If you go man-to-man and you go one lurk, now you have moved the player that's lurking and looking for anything that's coming as a crosser to not crosses off because he has to now out of his blitz and now controlling the quarterback. And now you're playing truly 11 on 11, which we know defense have always had the advantage of one because the quarterback typically is not a runner.
Well, here's the next part. If the quarterback takes off and you got a guy spying on him, what if the spy misses the tackle?
88 out the gate.
It's over.
Yeah. So
88 out the gate.
You just got to think about how you want to defend that. Having a spy, you still almost got to do run fit gap control,
right?
To go against a running quarterback. But you want to make sure, man, that the spy stuff can get real tricky on you.
Get real tricky. But with Georgia has 4 that can truly now you have to rush and form a cup and make Jalen Milroe play from within the pocket, which we haven't seen at a high clip that he's going to be that effective. He's been okay, but truly not a pocket passer like the other guy.
And you want to mush rush him. That's what you're talking about.
Correct.
You don't want to get too flying up the field.
Come up field, but stay there. Become that pillar right there. Don't move. He's going to come to you at some point. Flush him and keep him in that pocket and ask him to read progression. And if he can read through his progression and make 7 to 8 throws and they go on 80-yard drives on 12 to 15 plays, then you have to live with that.
Yep.
And then, dang it, you got it. But when you start putting that spy on them and trying to do all those funky things, now it becomes your athlete versus Milroe. And I'm going to take Milroe over any linebacker that Georgia has right now. Right? And now when you look at it, when you go to the run game and you go to the zone read and you have a spy, now if you're chasing off the edge and scraping with that linebacker isn't chasing and scraping that fast. Because now he has to be ready for that quarterback. So when the quarterback steps in a particular direction, there's going to be a seam that opens up for Jam Miller, Young, and Justice Haynes to hit that and go downhill. So it's just a combination of how you want to defend Milroe. I thought Kirby got too passive last year, uncharacteristic of Kirby, but also going against and understanding Knicks defense. The kryptonite to Knicks defense and Kirby's defense has always been a mobile quarterback, not necessarily a runner, but one that can create time for those routes to extend in man-to-man coverage downfield to hit Ryan Williams, to hit Kobe Prentice, and hit K-Law down there for big plays.
No, I agree. I think, even back to the hurts my soul, right? But even back to the Jalen Hurts and Tua days, right? Those guys able to extend plays. Interestingly enough to our conversation, I just saw where Matt Zenith posted, Oklahoma's going to stick with the young boy. They're going to stick with Hawkins this week, start him over Jackson Arnold. So, to your point, again, I don't even necessarily feel a way, but there's something that was going on. I just felt like the timing of them pulling Arnold, it was kind of like the last straw. I don't know if maybe they had talked with him about not making up, you can't do this. You can't, film after rep after rep. And the young kid came in and played well, man. I think that was really the kicker. He came in ice cold, but had a really good second half. He played well. Be interested to see how that kind of plays out. I think to the Georgia discussion, Missouri for us, Carl, a couple of years ago, 26-22, and we were playing from behind that whole game. It was always one of those. Alabama, it always feels like it's like Old Miss or somebody, right? Always middle of the year, game 7 or game 8. Somehow they lose the game, but find their way back, win the SEC championship, and all is well, right? Georgia has that one, and it's somebody in the SEC East that's not supposed to give us problems, but they do. So hopefully that's all that Kentucky was. You get back to business on Saturday under the bright lights there at Bryant-Denny, and we'll just see what happens, man. I'm excited. I remember during the Mark Richt days, right? You go into a game like this, and you knew you were going to lose, man. But Mark did a great job of getting us back into these games, right? Ray Goff, Jim Donner, we couldn't even get into these games, right? So we get back into these games.
Don't go back into a dark place.
Hey, you know what? Listen, it's only nice to go back to the dark place when you've seen the bright light. So
hold on, why did Rick have to catch it straight right?
Hey, listen. I tell my homeboys all the time. They want to get into my. I'm like, I for one am forever grateful for Mark Richt. Because you talk about a dark place. A dark place is knowing that you're going to be 6-6 or 7-5.
Right.
But as a Missouri fan, Reed, you can kind of speak to that a little bit.
Man, Reed,
you stuck.
You catching straight right now.
No. Hey, look, he can empathize with it. I've been there. I went back and re-looked at Jim Donner and Ray Goff just the other day, just to make sure I wasn't too hard on the boys when I'm talking about them. 7-5, 6-4, 8-4, 6-6, 5-7. So Mark Richt got us away from that. 8-5, 9-4 became the bad years. I am forever grateful to Mark Richt. Mark, if you are listening, we love you in Athens. I darn near want to build him a statue. And it can sit right next to Kirby's. I'm cool with it.
But the crazy thing is, before Nick, I don't even mention the guy's name that was before Nick. See, I only do that. But here's another thing, though, B. So as we finish up Georgia and Bama, let's look at Georgia's offense versus Bama's defense. You cut the Kentucky film on, and I love Coach Bobo, and I think he's an excellent.
We miss Todd Monken.
Offensive coordinator, but what
you're doing too much credit. We miss Todd Monken.
No,
we can say that
listen,
out loud.
Listen, Bobo's my guy. I think that. Let me tell you, I think Bobo is a quality offensive coordinator.
You saying that because you're a Bama fan?
No, because Bobo's my man. Bobo's always looked out for me. He's a solid. He's a coach. But just hear me out. And it's not really Monken. It's because Monken is having his hiccups too in the NFL. Like every coach goes through this. Carl has been a great coach, but every coach goes through this. When you have really good players or great players or rare players, you get into my player, regardless of what I call, is going to execute this at a higher clip. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to get into my play design bag. And that's what he had with Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey for 4 years. Mm-hmm. When you have a monster offensive line with first rounders that can knock people off the ball, you don't have to create and design opportunities for athletes. Now that you don't have those first round, second round guys as of right now, because they're still young and still learning how to play with each other or play together. You have to now create easy access plays, design plays for guys to get open. You cut on the film for Kentucky, those guys are plastered because it's 3-man routes, high-low concept. You run a dagger where you clear out and run a dig behind it. You run a sail route where a guy goes over and he crosses again. You run a spot route where you have a guy go out, one sit over the ball, and a guy do either sail or 7-cut to go high-low and read that high-low defender. Well, you have a quarterback that can do that. But coordinators now are matching routes. So back like when Carl and I played, guys were buzzing to a spot and getting to their landmarks. Them landmark days are over. They're covering routes.
It's all pattern match reading now.
Right? So you have to now get into your bag what Andy Reid is showing you guys, what Joe Brady's showing you guys. We have to now create bunch, rubs, delays, isolate my good against your not so good in order to win on this play and to coach the position of offensive coordinator. Coach it, not just call it, coach it, design it, understand what's going on, what your offense has in their bag in order to execute at a high clip. And watching
coaching is important.
Correct. And watching both Bama's defense and Georgia's offense, I don't see either coordinator adjusting at a high clip and making game time adjustments, in-game adjustments, like you saw when Kirby was at Bama, or even when T-Rob was at Bama last year. And you saw Monk in there. If Monk knew that you were matching routes, cool. I'm going to go to my mesh concept with McConkley and Brock. So now if you're doubling Brock, you're going to have to show me your hand. You're going to have to take 3 over 2. Fine. Now I got the numbers over here. I can run the ball. Or I can isolate your guy over here.
They would go mesh and go levels. They would go mesh underneath and a level route over the top in the middle of the field. So they would put you in some supreme conflict.
So I'm reading high-low to second level and also third. So if your guy bites the cheese, which he takes a mesh, and you take the mesh here, I have that dig behind it in that window, and they have an NFL quarterback that could make that throw. But you just don't see that yet. And I'm not one that says coaches are holding back offenses. You don't hold back your offensive playbook when you're struggling against Kentucky on the road. You don't do that. You call plays to win the game. And if you're a coordinator, that in-game adjustment type, high-level thinker, you're making those adjustments. And I'm telling you, when they have these iPads on the sideline and they're playing back plays, Carl, there should be no reason why you aren't elevating in coaching at a high level with all this technology, bro.
No disagreement. I can't wait. Hey, I can't wait for Saturday. Top 5, dead or alive. Your first chance to see the board, see what he gonna do. Kirby, you know what he gonna do. He not gonna get out of his box. But Bobo's always on display for me, man. As a monkey guy, Bobo's on display. But you got Nate Frazier, you got ETN. Carson Beck gotta have a big game. Everybody talking Carson Beck QB1 in the draft.
Carson's been playing well. It's not.
No, I'm not even saying it's bad. These are the games I live for, man. The signature moments. I'm excited to see what he does under the bright lights with the whole country tuned in. I can't wait. I'm hyped, man. Let's go.
Hey, B, you remember when you guys had Matthew Stafford?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was your coordinator?
This is a really good question at that point. I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah. It's probably going to be an easy answer for you. But when you have a quarterback in college that's an NFL type of pocket passer, you have to be able to create level throws and create an offense that fits his skill set. Right? Because Carson Beck is not Stetson Bennett. He's not as mobile as that guy. He can't create second level and second play opportunities when he's off of that first play and off script. That's not really his game. So if he's a high-level progressionary reader, yeah, you develop a high-level progressionary passing game because he can handle that. So you have to coach towards your personnel and design plays for your personnel. The same way that you ran things last year, you can't do it anymore. You can call that same playbook, but within your playbook, you got to have a bag of tricks that says, okay, good. This is for my quarterback eyes because he's struggling today reading the defense. They're doing something that I did not think they were going to do, but we're going to go back to square one, Carson Beck's best plays. And we're going to run these plays until the dogs come home.
Hey, I can't wait. Let's go Saturday night. Let's lace them up. Until then, I can't wait to see what you boys on with Unfiltered. I'm dropping my rankings for 26 on Thursday. I got to get back to work, man. Hey, Xavier just texted my line where the eval's at. I got to go back to work, fellas.
But last thing before, and then we're going to get out of here. We ain't going to spend more than 5 minutes on this. Bryce Young getting benched. Former Bama guy, Heisman Trophy winner. Smoke, what you think? Number 1 pick.
I think that organization has let him down. I don't think that I didn't think that he was the best quarterback at that time to be taken number 1 overall. But everybody's going to go back and say that. But coaching counts. Years ago, when the McVay tree came out and everybody was saying that Eric Bieniemy should have been a guy that should have been hired, we're seeing that Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Stefanski, O'Connell, all of those guys that were in the same, Zach Taylor, I think Zach out there too. Yeah, all those guys that are in that same tree are being successful because they understand how to coach the most important position, which is a quarterback. Bryce Young has been had the disservice served to him from being in an organization that wasn't ready for a young quarterback, didn't have enough people around him to teach him how to play the game or even call the game to help him. You threw him out there with nothing. He's not that talented of a player to go out there and win games on his own. He didn't do that at Bama. Mm-hmm. When he had to do that against Georgia, they didn't win. So him getting benched, his career is over in Carolina. It's the same thing as Jack Arnold. It's over. Yeah. It's over. Move on. But that's a combination of player, front office, owner, coach. That he has 2 coaches in 2 years. Like, come on. There's no reason why he should either stay another day in Carolina. Just get him out of there. Let him start all over again. You're not going to get what you ponied up to get him in the first place. And wrong move. It sucks for him as a young player because I think he is more talented than what he's showing, but he's lost his confidence. He has nothing to turn around to. He does not have a quarterback nurturer in the building to help him through the toughest time, the dark days, and he's just out there on his own. Good luck. Don't know how he bounces back from this, but the only way if he gets in a situation like Baker just got in. It took Baker, but Cleveland, Carolina. He had another stop. Cleveland, Carolina, Tampa. So after 3 stops, Baker's found his home. Sam Darnold, everybody thought they couldn't play. He's playing well. So I just believe that coaching counts, man, and it matters, especially at that position. Other positions, you can just go out there, yell and mother F guys and sound like a grunt mule. But at the quarterback position, you got to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it, and why you're doing it. Got to cover the W's.
Well, guys, we're going to get out of here. Oh, M. Vaughn sent me his huddle link, man. DM
we love that. We love that. Hey, man, put yourself on the radar, young scrap. We respect that around here,
listen,
man.
Young fella, send it to my DM. I'm going to check you out. Just
go ahead and send it to Smoke, too. Hey, Director of Player Personnel, young Gerald.
Hey, listen, bro. Man, I go for about 2 bands an hour, man. Listen, these eyes got no glasses, no nothing, no red specs, no nothing. These are sharp.
Hey, 15-second point on Bryce Young. Again, all things not for everybody. I read something great this week that, a really good quarterback needs 50 NFL starts before you can give up on. Right. I think to your point about Mayfield and Darnold and some of the Geno Smith, right? Another guy who sat for a decade. I mean, he sat for a long time. Jordan Love obviously had to sit behind Rodgers. So, just timing being everything, but there's so much to having, whether you're getting the 50 starts or someone else in front of you gets 50, but you're talented enough, Jordan Love, come in and get a chance to play, and then you get 50 starts. So it'll be interesting. This isn't over by any means. Bryce Young's not over. We'll see what happens next, man.
It'd be one more thing. Whenever you have time, just go back and Carl, I got 45 seconds. You said 5 minutes. I'm counting it. So I got 45 seconds. Go back and just do some research on quarterbacks that's had success and what's been their time pattern. Yep. Now, there's always going to be a one-off of guys that get in the league and take it over by storm, Cam Newton, right? But majority of quarterback over the history of the NFL, even the history of college football, have always sat back, learned, took those proper lessons of learning how to play the game within the game to become a successful quarterback. We're rushing these guys because we live in a microwave society. We say, well, even Caleb Williams is not ready to play. I said it from the beginning. Not one of those quarterbacks that got drafted. The most NFL ready quarterback was Bo Nix. Why? Because he already played 5 to 6 years in college.
Yeah, he old guy.
He's an old guy. He didn't see it all.
Coach's kid. He's seen it all.
Right. But even when he was at Auburn, when they threw him out there, he didn't look this good.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Penix didn't look this good when he was at Indiana. It took him time.
It takes time.
It takes time.
And no matter who you are, you're not going to speed up the time.
No, Peyton Manning struggled as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there was a situation where Peyton could have sat and learned, I'm pretty sure Indy would have done it.
Yeah.
Instead of letting him go out there and throw the most interception by an NFL rookie of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time. Eli learned from Kurt Warner, an NFL Hall of Famer. And he didn't start off the rip. Kurt did. And then Kurt struggled. Then Eli came in, then he won Super Bowls. Brett Favre, same thing. He had to get out of Atlanta to go learn. Patrick Mahomes had to go learn. Josh Allen.
On that note, in the show, man, this man brought up Brett Favre in Atlanta. I'm still hurt. It's been 30 years, and I'm still hurt. The kid from Southern Miss. We literally traded Duke for some biscuits and some gravy.
Hey, man, I was in a building that we traded a 10th pick over to pick Patrick Mahomes. We all make mistakes, but learn from them, bro.
All right. Hey, fellas, we out. B, where can they see you this week?
I'll be on the Brandon Clay Show. Y'all know what it is. At Brandon Clay PSB on all socials. At Brandon Clay Consulting on IGA. I just put up a brand new video of me getting my Magic Johnson on in Indianapolis. Make sure y'all check me out, man.
A hook shot?
No. The behind the back pass. Hey, go check. I'm gonna send you the link in the group message, Smoke. I'm gonna save you some time.
If you have anything Magic Johnson in that clip, don't send it to Smoke.
It was beautiful. Hey, just wait till you see it. Woo.
The greatest passer looks away then throws a pass. I got you now.
Hey, listen, I had it, bro. I had that work, young fella.
Oh, the number one hater. Smoke, what you got
Hey,
going?
Reed, I'm gonna let you go ahead and tell the people, give the people what they want. There's a word that we back on, man. Give it to them. Let them know they're unfiltered.
Unfiltered, Tuesday and Thursday. We back on tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and we're gonna have some smoke for you tomorrow. 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going hard in the paint, talking about the games from this weekend. We might even talk about Mac Brown kind of quit on his team in the locker room and backtrack. That's what I'm hearing. We're gonna talk about it. It's gonna be for you. And we'll see y'all. Hey, we out, man. Enjoy y'all Monday night. Peace.
Bills Mafia. B, take care.
Hey, good stuff. We'll see you next week, man.
All right, boy.
All right, bro.